What is your favorite thing that you do at Databricks?
We've gone from 0 to 5.4 billion.
Some people that inspire me in the AI field, it's like Sam Altman is there, Elon Musk is there, Dario is there. Is there anyone like that from India that inspires you?
You should look at the InMobi story, right? Yeah, I'm super impressed.
What would you have built if you're building a startup right now?
I really like the First Club. It's a fantastic story.
Databricks is now a data company, an infrastructure company, or have you completely become an AI company?
We're all three.
There's one question that he wanted me to ask.
Yes.
Did you watch Dhurandhar?
Yes. I watched both parts of Dhurandhar. I loved it. Yeah, I loved it.
Thank you so much, Kamal, for joining us today for What's the Point. For this, I'm not going to talk about Apache Spark, data lakehouse, anything. We're not going to go into the jargons. So if someone who's like 12 years old, 13 years old, who's coming into the industry, they've seen ChatGPT, they've seen Claude, how would you explain them what Databricks does?
So probably they're playing a sport. When I'm preparing, what we've done is there was no ChatGPT. We just used to read, write, you by heart, go. Today, you can actually ask ChatGPT give us a chapter name and ask for a quiz. Yeah. Now, if ChatGPT is going everywhere and it is looking at data that is prepared and it is doing. Now, what if that data layer itself is not there? If it is not in context, it can give a wrong answer, right? Then the adoption goes away. So that is something what Databricks does. We have the right guardrails in terms of the data not getting, quality of data is maintained, the context is there, keeping it relevant to a 8th standard kid and not probably going to, I'm saying I'm 12 years old, I'm in class 9, I have this chapter on astronomy, ask me questions. It should not throw up somebody who's doing astrophysics, right? That is what. So bringing that context, which is very important, the layer in between, and then finally the LLM itself, right? Today ChatGPT is great. Tomorrow it's Gemini. Now we are seeing Claude. When DeepSeek happened, everybody ran around DeepSeek, right? So the models will keep evolving. Databricks takes care of all of this. Data through AI for, an organization.
That was a very good explanation. I mean, you didn't use any of the words. But do you think Databricks is now a data company, an infrastructure company, or have you completely become an AI company?
We're all three. We are the data company. We need the infrastructure to control and, govern the data that is sitting at the bottom, and the data that is there that also has to be open. You can't lock it in, right? The beauty about us is we keep it open so that you are taking inputs from everywhere. So that is very important. You're governing it because you don't want the quality of the data to go. And also, see, quality is one. And the second one is context. Context is very important because your LLMs work on context, right? And then there is the AI layer on top of it. Now, do we go and create our own LLM? There are companies that are doing very well, but we own the data. So we serve everything together. So Databricks is all of that together in a very open way, and we are not locking in the end customer.
Can you tell me where you're from and how can someone become someone like you as well, like leading Databricks?
Ours was a very nuclear family. My dad was a government, he used to work for a public sector bank. So, and in India, if you know public sector banks, every 3 years they transfer you across various cities. So that gave me great exposure. So I can speak almost 6 languages, Indian languages.
That is great because India is right now talking about building AI for in every language. So I think you have covered 6 yourself.
Yeah, so I can speak that pretty fluently. That's one big plus point, thanks to what my dad did. And my dad always was he was a branch manager. So Saturdays, Sundays, he would go. In those days, I'm talking when I was young, they would go for door to door to canvass for deposits. Like, why don't you put your money in the bank and all of that. And Saturday, Sunday were holidays, so I would tag along with him. So I've always seen him giving a pitch, knocking on the door, and they would give a pitch, and that's had a huge influence. So I always wanted to be, a salesperson. But then I realized we're all salespeople in life as well, right? Either we are selling to our parents, or we're selling to our children, or we're selling to our spouses. So I think that was a part of mine. And another thing was getting into detail. I think, when you grow up in a government employee, the quarters, all of that, it sets that, education is important. You have to be a little competitive, and that is always there. So getting into detail, getting a little bit on the inquisitiveness to learn, that kind of really helped.
So, what is your favorite thing that you do at Databricks?
As a company, we're growing at crazy speed, right? I hope if you know this, when we started, 2013, 15 to now, like in literally 10 years, we've gone from zero to 5.4 billion, which is what we've closed at. Now, that's the same expectation that Databricks has about every country or region. So, as India, the goal is to beat what the company is growing at a global level. I mean,
I think recently Ali Godse, your CEO, was also talking about this, that India is not just another country for it's like the
exactly,
biggest
right?
market.
So, and there's so much that we can do. For me, the opportunity that we see in India is we're one of the largest users, second largest in terms of smartphones that we use, right? Thanks to UPI and the way, the next generation uses the digital transactions. So we are population times digital interaction is the opportunity that this country offers. So for me, breaking it down across, it's not saying, I will just look at enterprise or I will look at startups, then there are the mid market or the commercial segment. How to break it down? It's like a problem that I'm constantly solving, and that drives me. And every time I'm solving something, there's a new challenge.
So, what advice would you give to people who are coming out of like Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, and who want to be like Databricks leader sometime? Or
See, the first thing I would say is the basics, the foundation, right? The foundation is primarily, I'm not saying it's about, just cramming for numbers, but learn the foundations well, get the concepts really clear. Like whenever I tell my kids as well, and I tell, even my own team, if we are going and attending a particular training or we're reading something, there needs to be two concepts, just two concepts that you pick up and then try and apply it into your day-to-day life. There might be 10 things that they'll tell you. That's something that I do, right? Number one, which is, where you're learning and you're doing. The second one is just the people around us. I'm a people person. I really love spending time with people. But when I'm spending time with people, I know what are my strengths. And when I'm looking at what's my strength, I'm also evaluating you, right? Evaluating in sense, not saying that you're good or bad, but I'm looking at what are the traits, what are you good at? And if do I have that? If I don't want to become better at what you are, but can I pick up 10% of that? And I know, can I do that? So constantly, it's like, I believe it's like the onion, right? As you mature, the onion has multiple layers that it kind of adds. So as a personality, it will probably come. Did I know public speaking from day one? No. Can I go, and I think the first time I went on stage, I blanked out, right? This was, I remember when I was in college, they were calling me on stage for speaking. I just sat because I was afraid to go on, but I made an attempt to speak, right? The second one is making a pitch. If you have to do that, you're always going to get a no for an answer. But it's about how you do that. The third one is to set visioning, right? In terms of what is your vision? What do you want to do in 2 years? What do you want to do in 3 years? And then once you have it for yourself, being able to communicate in very simple and with clarity to folks who are out there. So for a kid who's probably coming from a tier 2 city, the first thing that they have to do is get the foundation right, which is whatever you're doing, do it well, enjoy it. You might not like the subject, but enjoy and do it. Then it becomes easy, it goes in. Then get exposure. When I mean exposure, take risks at that age. When I mean risk, is I've always been that let me go do stuff that's very stupid. Like I've always said, do I take the safe path or can I go do something different? Right. So the safe path, there are already 10 people in the line. If I'm doing something, and that is something you have to evaluate for time to time. Today with the digital world, exposure is there. You can do so much of stuff. So that's something that you have to probably do, and then try and see what is that. You have to be self-aware. I think that's very important. Of what are your positives, what are your weaknesses, how can you work on it? All of this becomes very well. Mentors play a big role.
but
Again,
if I put a little context here,
Mhm.
so I'm talking about everything that is happening right now. I think if you look at Anthropic's Claude, and when OpenAI launched ChatGPT, and a lot of updates are coming up every single week, and developers and people everywhere are very scared about how they're going to land and just recently some big companies also laid off a lot of thousands of people. So what motivation is there for them to learn, and how would they evolve every week? They have to learn something new. So how would you? What advice would you give to them?
See, I think it's important for us to know, we knew when the Gen AI revolution kind of started, which was about 12, 15 months back. All of us started using it. The first thing we use is in the B2C apps, right? We saw it on Amazon. We saw it on, the applications that we phone pay, where the next best. Now it's also important saying, how can I use it, right? How am I using it in my day-to-day life? Now look at it. It's also inertia of learning. Now, if you take the new age kids, like when I probably started, there was that big floppy disk that was there, right? Then the small floppy disk came. Then OHP sheets was what I used in college for presentation. Two, you went to PPTs. Today, people are saying, let's not use PPTs at all. You should be extempore. It should look very personal. Look at the kids who are coming in, right? There was the internet generation, then there was the smartphone generation, then now there are the AI kids who are coming in, where they're completely dependent. Your competition is with that generation. So it's important for you to constantly keep learning at work as well. Look at it. When there is a new technology that comes in, try and embrace it. Experiment, right? If you don't saying that, oh, I'm fine here, and that's happened to brands as well, right? Look, we know the Kodak story from where they were to the digital camera. So it's simple. It applies to us as well.
I think younger people are able to adapt to it quicker, and people who are in 30s, 40s in the management, they struggle a lot when it comes to adopting new technology.
Exactly. And I think because what we have is business context, what we have is maturity of the games people play, right? Now, and I'm not saying go become 100%, but can I put 10%, 20% of these new techs into the way I operate? That will make a huge difference. And organizations need that, right? We need experience with the disruption as well, because just disruption is without context. Like in a LLM, we need context. So context comes from experienced folks.
So I was just speaking 2 weeks back to Vijayant from Snowflake. So he told me that you guys were friends at Salesforce. So is it like a mafia going on? Ki Salesforce se nikal ke someone is in Snowflake, someone is heading Databricks in India. How did you decide ki I'll go to Databricks?
Okay. Vijayant is still a great friend. I think I really look up to him as well. He was, if I have to say, in a sense, if I can use the word, my senior. But he's a fantastic individual. Personally, have had some good time with him. So Vijayant then probably went to Microsoft, and then he's come to Snowflake. For me, I think at Salesforce, when I joined Salesforce, I was a second employee in India from a GTM standpoint. 14 years, I've had a great journey. And at that point in time, when I got the call from Databricks, as I started preparing, right, through the process of the interview, it grew on me. I said, this is some organization that I should really be working with. And then I started reading up a lot more because what I was doing was, Salesforce was a SaaS company. We were in CRM. We are absolutely number one. We were doing all of that. But then when Databricks came in, it really excited me. The business model is different. We are in consumption. We are at we are a pioneer with respect to how we've solved the big data problem in terms of data and compute separately. How we are serving AI. It excited me as an opportunity. And for me, during my career, I've always been a builder. So my first organization, which I worked at Mindtree, I joined them pretty much straight out of college. They were about 300 odd people. I saw when I quit them in 10 years, they were 15,000, right? So when you go from building to managing, I thought I'm more of a builder. And I did that at Salesforce as well. I saw that complete journey, multiple versions. Now I have a great opportunity at Databricks, and we're building something superb over here.
What if you would have got a call from Snowflake instead of Databricks that day?
Vijayant is there. So
what is the best thing that Databricks does that no other competitor can do?
The best thing Databricks does?
I mean, apart from the growth, we know the numbers.
I had the opportunity of taking Patrick, who's one of our founders, Patrick Wendell, to a few customers here. We met a lot of startups and all of that. And I did get some time, as well as what Ali says, right? We want to be, solving technology problems for enterprises, and that's in the mindset. So if you look at it, the amount of money that from our profits we repack into R&D is immense. So we are solving technology problems, right? We're not playing the marketing game, but we're solving the technology problem. So if you build great technology, it sells for itself. That's number one. But then the second thing that you need is how do you get it to life? Today, with what's happening, customers don't have time for 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, 4 months for seeing something coming to life. With Databricks, you could actually see that in 2 weeks, 4 weeks. That's the kind of speed, or even lesser, right? But then again, in context to a particular customer with their nuances, with their semantics, can I actually? So if you look at the team that we have, we are engineering heavy, we are architect heavy than the sales folks themselves. So if I am talking to a particular customer, the amount of emphasis that we are giving on getting POCs rather than doing POCs, how can I get it right in production, right? And more than the technology, who is it actually affecting, right? Today I might have something which is my data layer, but I move to Databricks, but I'm not, oh, it's superb, my queries are running much faster, all that is great, but that's the new normal. Like today for you, you've got used to Gen AI, right? That's the new normal. You need anything, you go to any of the search engines? No longer, right? You straight away go to that's the new normal. But what next from there? The next disruption is going to come there. So for us in enterprise tech, it's not about just setting up that data layer, but then giving, like if you take a cement company, it's to that last person on the street who's going, to a dealer, distributor, or to somebody to do, how am I making his life? If you take financial services, to that account manager who's meeting his customer, what is that insight I'm giving him so that he can make that extra? Can I go to supply chain and cut down, time that much in terms of, keeping inventory low to deliver a lot more better? Can I bring more orders? So that is the final thing that I have to do. I think Databricks does that very well. It's not just about the tech.
That is interesting because I was talking to one of the startup founders of India and I wanted them to explain what AI for Bharat is. So they also explained it in a similar way. It's like building AI for one specific person and scaling it to everyone. Like it should be personalized for everyone. I think that is something. But if you're coming back to India as a market, as a customer, so where does Databricks come into the picture when the country is talking about sovereign AI, and we are talking about keeping the data within the country? So where does Databricks come into the picture?
So today, if you look at it, we already have the cloud service providers. Databricks is not Databricks itself, right? We are available on the three. We started off on Microsoft, which is on Azure. Now we are available on AWS. We are available on GCP. So we are available on all three of them. All features absolutely acceptable. Now, if you take large enterprises, they don't work just with one cloud, right? They would have everybody. We work on all of them, right? So it doesn't matter for them, how they use Databricks. Now, whichever is the cloud that they are, whichever business unit is using it, we probably will work there. Now, all of them have, infrastructure in the country, they're hosted in the country, the data stays in the country, you've kept it, all of that, and we are sitting on top of them. So we kind of,
So cannot Google, AWS, or Microsoft, can they not make something that Databricks would not be required after that? Just if I don't know. I mean, if I just
So
want to
today they're
ask you.
definitely doing that, right? Like Microsoft already has products which are, have overlaps to Databricks, right? We call that they have. AWS has their own stack. Google has their own stack because it's like friend, enemy, right? So and the market is so big that you can actually cater to. So the options for the customers is definitely available, that if they are looking at going end to end on one cloud service provider, taking all the services that they can do. But then, is that the most important thing? Now, the point that I would want to ask is, let's take all the data analytics revenue that one of the cloud service providers is doing and the revenue that they're getting from only Databricks running on one of them. You'll be surprised by the numbers.
You have all this knowledge now that you're heading Databricks, you've been at Salesforce. Did it ever come to your mind that I should build something like Dataforce from India, Databricks from India?
It's always come, yeah. It's always come right from college. I've come up with a lot of. It always comes, but I have huge admiration for people who try and build something from the country, right? The entrepreneurs. I've chosen a path which is there, but it always keeps coming. Maybe I'll do it
Maybe
a
you
few
can
years.
steal some secrets from Databricks and we can. But do you think there's something stopping people from in India to build
No,
global
no, we've
products?
got some fantastic products, right? You look at it, right? You look at Zepto, right? What they're doing is outstanding, right? You've got some Freshworks, a great story, right? InMobi, another fantastic story. We've got some great, stories in India. You look at recently at the India AI Summit, we all saw Sarvam, right? Great stuff. It will come. When these examples did we have these stories 10 years back? We did not. Now we have quite a dozen of them, right? Did we have the number of unicorns? We are already, I don't know the exact number. You probably would know. Is it around 100 now? Today we have it's around 100. What was it a decade back? Today we have that. Now the next, and let's look at the kids who are coming out of school today, the kids who are coming out of colleges today. How many of them, if you look at my generation to now, how many of them want to start on their own to how many of them want to go and work for an organization? It's the mindset is changing, and that's what will happen. Probably in Silicon Valley, they had that ecosystem. There were the VCs. There was guidance. There were people who helped it. It will happen here as well. 20 years from now, I'm definitely confident that we'll have some fantastic stories like that.
I think you should also start one. We should build Databricks, ki jagah, whatever we can call it in India.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm a fan of Databricks. I'm not saying it in that way, but even if I go back and look at some people that inspire me in the AI field, it's like Sam Altman is there, Elon Musk is there, Dario is there. Is there anyone like that from India that inspires you? Maybe Ali Good says there.
Ali is there. Ali is fantastic. I think I really love. For me, personally, I'll say Matai is somebody that I'm super impressed of what I've seen so far. If I look at what we've done in India, there are you should look at the InMobi story, right? It's a great story. I'm super impressed. I'm inspired by what the Zepto founders have done. They've done some outstanding stuff, right? And they're constantly doing, like if you probably take, and people are also constantly trying to pivot, right? Considering the regulations that we have and what we are trying to do, Dream 11 was fantastic, but now with the regulation change, they're trying to pivot and what they're trying to do. I take inspiration from everywhere, and probably a couple of decades back for me, Mr. Suta was an inspiration. Mr. Bakchi was an inspiration. Nandan Nilekani is a great inspiration for me. I take inspiration from Dr. R.S. Sharma and Shrikant Nadamuni, the guys who built UID. I take a lot of inspiration from them. All of this are population scale problems. Tell me which was the other country that probably did something like UID, right? Mexico, 110 million, 1.4 billion. That's a great story, and I take inspiration from all of that.
Yeah, that makes sense. That completely makes sense. So, if you have to give advice to someone who's now going to build something from India, like you gave example of Zepto, what would you have built if you're building a startup right now? What would be your favorite sector? Do you think this is something that people should build right now?
I'll give you an example, right? And this is I really like the Fuss Club. Yeah, it's a fantastic story, right? I hear the founder is ex Flipkart, but he took his time. He really saw there's a space. Now look at it, like all of us going towards health and moving away, there is a market that is available, right? And I love that story. I think that is my advice, that find the product market fit, which is very, very key. And then, you test it fast, you fail fast. And it depends on, is it B2C or is it B2B? If it is B2B, then you probably have to find your first set of anchor customers. India for the world is another one that they do. My own, for the folks that I personally talk to, I say, you're the best sales guy till you get probably your first 100 customers. That's what I would say. But then getting the first 10 itself is tough, because India is a very POC market. And I keep telling, I'll borrow this from one of my friends, which is, you obviously don't do any free POCs. For a POC, you will have to do something that you have to get in return. It could be a video, it could be a reference, it could be this thing. So I say, Pele PO for C, right? so So you do the PO is you have to get something in return. Don't do it free of cost. It's definitely burning. Seek support. We have to do. I think the ecosystem is there. That's probably my and uh, you know just let's not just ape something that someone has done, but then let it be a little unique. There are problems definitely out there. Spend some time, understand, undo it, and we're constantly doing, right. Even in Databricks, we are looking for spaces that we can disrupt, right. That is more internal, but then we have to also look at in an external space, for founders to really look at that. And I take a lot of inspiration from that.
Do you vibe code, by the way?
I have just started.
What is
I've
your
just started.
what is your favorite use case or something that you
See,
built?
currently what I do is something that's related to my work schedule. So, I'd say being in the role that I am, we do a revenue forecast every, Monday. So when we do, you're always asking for numbers, right? Which are the customers who are going up, who are going down, whom did we acquire, whom did we not, all of that. Now that's changed, right? Now with Vibe Code, you could actually go and ask it and it'll tell you everything that I have to tell. So that 1 hour that I would probably go and talk to my boss and tell him that, hey, this is what this whole story saying. I went there, I did this, we submitted that proposal, I spoke to him, he has to take approval, legal has to do. All of that is out. It actually tells you, okay, these are all the things that you have to do. These are the 4 actions you have to take. And he has access to it. Now, when I know that, I'm going into the call prepared that he knows that information. So that 1 hour discussion we used to have now is probably a 20-minute call where I have to go either with a get well plan or, how am I going to increase my numbers or what is that I'm going to do. So that's the use case that I currently do. Or, it's probably customer specific scenarios, right? If I am going to a particular meeting, can I really think of what more can I do, right, for them? Or are there challenges? First I would ask something external saying, hey, tell me what is that they're doing. And then quickly, can you build something up for me? That's something that we do. Times for making demos have gone out.
Do you think all this is a threat to a lot of sectors, like maybe IT sector or consulting
No, it
sector?
is not. See, look at it. How much doing a demo is just one piece, right? Now, if I was a developer and I had started doing it, I would probably do, then I see what more can I do. Can I do mystery shopping to make it more, it would shorten the pre-sale cycle itself, right? Previously, I meet, I understand, I come back, I do a demo, it takes 3 weeks. Instead of that, now I can do it within a week, right? And I can go into the meeting right then and there. We do like a face off and or a bake off, if you have to call it. And I tell them, hey, we can do this here. Then, let's look at different use cases. Can we do this? That's something that I really think makes it exciting.
Databricks is also working with a lot of TCS and Infosys. I think they're working. So, but at the same time, if I can say, there are a lot of layoffs are also happening in these IT sectors. People are a lot scared. Maybe the size of these firms will decrease. So, don't you think there's a little bit of disruption happening because of tools like Cloud Code is there, Lovable is there?
So tell me, in a project life cycle, how much is coding? What time does coding really take? It's probably 20%. First, you have to get discovery, BRD, then you put a high level design, then you code, then you have to go integration testing, then UAT, then user feedback, then you do. There's so much. Let's assume 100%. Coding is a part to it, right? And it is what I truly believe is if something took 10 months before to build out, today you're doing that in a much lesser time. I think that's where, and all of these organizations, they are our partners, they work very closely with us. They're all transforming themselves also, right? They're learning, they're reskilling, they're thinking about how can I deliver, stuff in much faster timelines. They're creating accelerators. They definitely had it, but then, doing stuff that is faster and making organizations that much more intelligent. First, they're doing it for themselves and then they're applying it. Now, from a resourcing standpoint, I think you need to be there talking that language. Now, let's assume we're all here. How many of us, if we have to say, if we're taking this podcast, can I, how fast can I get it back, right? In the past, it would have been 3 weeks, right? Now, let's say he says that I can do it in 30 minutes. Just assume how we will all look like illiterates, right? what did he have that we did not have? We had the same resources. We have the same this thing. We just did not do it. So can we do that? Then all of us are in that side of the group. That's what we need to do.
So
You don't
this
want to
change
wait.
that is happening. So how do people upskill in that? People are scared because of that. Like TCS Infosys job ही नहीं लग रही है, कुछ है ही नहीं. So how do people
So
go
see,
there?
my dad used to tell me this. I'll go back to my dad as well as that. So when banks, if you've been to banks in 80s and in those days, door to door canvassing that they used to go, तो होती ही नहीं है. How does that happen? Right? Today, you want to open an account, neobanks are there. You have to go, SBI, right? Fastest to open accounts, Jandan Yojana that we did, fastest to. So you can actually open everything on your phone today. You get so that process has changed. Did, that really bring things down? We've started doing a lot more. Wealth management, credit cards, personal loans. We take loans for everything. Holidays, you want to buy a shoe, you want to buy a TV, you get a loan, 0% interest. We didn't have these products some time back. These are things that will really come in. There were people who used to be counting notes. The teller machines came. Did it take their jobs away? No. The whole, this thing of wealth management, key account management, all of that has happened. ATMs.
I think he'll stop hiring editors and he'll only edit it from now on. Something like that will happen. So, do you think then if these tools are so powerful and everyone is just productivity boost is happening like crazy? So, do you think some 20, 25 people from India sitting in a tier 2 town like Jabalpur from where I am, can they create something like a Databricks from India
I think anybody
with
can
just vibe coding?
see just vibe coding. They can create apps today. What vibe coding is very good at, is at doing something at an app level that they can do. They can definitely create something for like Databricks, but can it be at enterprise scale? Can it solve? That's where the challenge comes. Where and what is that problem solving? Maybe like I'll tell you, we had this bunch of friends. We went on a trip, right? And we all spent money. There was one guy who vibe coded and created an app for splitting money that we all spent. It was fantastic. Right now, can we do that at enterprise scale? What about security? What about context? What about its scaling and descaling? What about data not going out? So at a B2C level, it's definitely possible. In organizations also, but it is more of a building block, is what I feel. From there, we will do. So it's all about what I was doing in 36 months or 18 months. How fast can I crunch it and I move on to the next level? That's what we'll have to do. Coming back to your question of somebody creating a Databricks sitting in a tier 2 town, definitely possible. Definitely possible. It's about having that vision, and I think that will change. We will have. Today, I'm just going back, right? Look at the example that I said, how people are doing. Look at the kind of startups that we have, and every day that they are breaking down problems and solutions that we are seeing. It's great.
I mean, yeah, it's crazy at the pace that things are changing. I mean,
So I'll tell you this, right? Enterprise transformation, there's a lot of tech debt. When I mean tech debt, is legacy within enterprises. The first thing where the change happens is in B2C. That's where disruption happens. And then we say, like, if I'm a CEO of an organization, I'm using an app, right? And the first thing I will think that, why can't I use it in my organization? How can we not do it? Then I'll come back. And you also know, you have a bunch of friends, right? And when you talk to your friends, all 10 of them, do they move at the same pace? They're always the first adopters, 2 of them. There are 4 of them who will wait and watch, saying, let's see how these guys are successful, then we'll join the bandwagon. Then there are the last set of guys who will say, until you push them out, they will not even do it. So the answer is pretty much there.
so do you think there would be like $1 billion companies moving forward? Like,
I think somebody from I'm not getting the name who said there'll be a single person $1 billion company, right? That's probably I don't know the timeline, but we will definitely have $100 million company very soon, right? Which is a single person. I think there are already now 3-5 people, 100 million companies, but we'll have a single person 100 million companies as well.
I think that is happening. I think I recently saw some news that something like that happened. So, what is your favorite use case of AI at a personal level that you have built or experienced?
At my level, I use it for research. Yeah. See, at a day-to-day level, what I do is to plan my week, or how did my last week go. It'll it That's something that I'm constantly plan my day. Like tomorrow, so my to-do is completely gone. Previously, I used to take a paper, write it down, or on my phone. Now I don't have to do that. My to-do is taken care. My last week is taken care. I can analyze my last month, what I've done. What are the things that, in my role, I'm always meeting. There's so many promises that I'm making. Am I sticking up to my promises, external or internal? So I don't want to be dropping the ball. So that's something that I use extensively. Number one. Number two is before I go into a customer meeting, previously, the teams used to spend a lot of time preparing brief notes, right? Like the document that you have, I have a brief note. No longer. I just go put it in saying that, I'm meeting AIM. What have they done? What is that I need to speak? What are the kind of questions that you ask? It's definitely not tech. I knew you want to ask Spark, Lakewatch, Lakebase. It will be a little bit about me and my personal journey, all of that. I did that groundwork before coming in. So that's the same when I'm meeting someone. It gives you insights. That's crazy. So it's made me that much more effective, no?
So coming to Databricks a little bit to the India plan. So I recently saw this news that you're also ramping up hiring right now in India, and I mean you have expanded as well. So what advice would you give to people who want to join Databricks right now?
I think last year we announced a 250 million investment in the country. What we've done is we've invested in 4 great offices across the country. Bangalore is our engineering center, so we've set up engineering teams over here. Today, I think that's the team that's ramping up very fast. We're hiring folks for that. We also have set up support teams here. We've set up our own shared services like HR, finance, all of that we're doing. Plus, we're also doing GTM expansion, right? But then engineering has been the core focus. The next thing that we are also doing is, the talent pool, right? The whole talent. We said we would train about 100,000 people. We've achieved that number. Now we are saying we would get to 500,000 people in the next 3 years. Though I think the goal will quickly go up and above, and we'll probably, Dutchwood will do it much faster because it's very important. So for someone who's coming on, fundamentally, if they understand data, if they understand data engineering, data science, they've done this, they do the certifications, equip themselves, what they're doing, and then it's the genuine process that we're doing. So we are hiring across multiple roles, and we will continue to grow at the pace at which we are growing. Like if you look at it globally, we're growing at 65% year on year on a $5.4 billion base. That's not a joke, right? The best part that I really love is when you look at that, I hope you know the rule of 72, right?
What is the rule of 72?
The rule of 72 is if you grow at 72% year on year, you double every 12 months. Like you've got $100, you put it at the bank, you get 6% interest. 12 years, that 100 will become 200. So that if I have to apply it to myself, that's the rate at which we're growing. Specific to India, India is beating our global average.
So I have one question. When is the IPO coming?
When is the IPO coming? See, I don't think, first and foremost, the beauty is I love the transparency at which we operate. And I'll quote Ali, it's not about what's the time in the market, but what time we need to come. That I think we will take a call. There's currently, I don't see any hurry. I think we're doing very well. There are more qualified people out there who will take that call, but I think we're doing very well as long as we're building great product. Our customers are happy. We're hiring great talent, and we're doing that. We will come sometime, I think, but right now, I don't think I have an update for you.
So Kamal, before we go into the last question, there's just 5 or 6 things that I'll ask you, like a rapid fire round. I just want your quick opinion on them. So AGI.
AGI, I think AGI is here to stay. I think it will become the norm, and it is coming very fast. We have to brace ourselves, embrace rather than brace, which is negative. I would say let's embrace it.
The AI bubble.
I don't think it's a bubble anymore. I think we did see a lot of bubbles. Like I keep telling this to my customers, right? When the metaverse came in, the digital twin, people were going buying stuff on the cloud. We saw the whole NFR thing that happened. But AI is here to stay. I am personally seeing, for us on our data stack, we are seeing almost 57% of enterprises really embracing AI in production. There are lovely use cases that they are doing, whichever is comfortable for them, right? If an organization is more forward looking, they're doing it. It is here to stay. It's no bubble.
Data centers in space.
Data centers in space. See, when first Starlink was mentioned, all of us thought it is, foolish. When we said the shuttle will go and come back, we thought it is foolish. Data centers in space is one such thing. I think today we probably are not there, but humans have always tested, the extent of technology can do. We will continue to do that.
Any job that you think AI will never be able to kill.
Will never be able to kill. Blue collar jobs is definitely one. I think washing vessels.
I mean, we can have robots and humanoids for that as well.
But still, okay, I think you have to probably talk to my wife. She's never happy with the robot. I have a robot to clean my floor. She's never happy. We just got one during COVID. She just doesn't want to use it, right? So if it is not there, so it's about your expectation. Even with generative AI, are you see today there is a lot of like I'm sure you're watching a lot of reels, right? You don't really enjoy the AI slop that comes. You want to see the vulnerability. You want to see the naturalness in that. So that is here to stay.
I think even now they're introducing movies in Reels format as well.
Exactly.
I don't know where
We
it is
saw
going.
that
Yeah.
movie, right? The AI Ramayana or whatever, right? There was one movie, I think the Narsimha, which did probably
Yes,
well,
yeah.
but then the other one, the other movie, then there were a barrage of movies, right? That came and not all of them did because you need to connect. Context is important, empathy is important, vulnerability is important, emotion. AI doesn't have emotion, right? So to an extent, it's fine as long as there's a human in the loop and we're collaborating well. The output is great. Just leaving everything to it. Today, I don't want to watch an AI slop. That whole tone that I see that comes in, you really don't want to do that, right? Presentations, right? At once upon a time, presentations were there. Today, I don't want to use a presentation. I want to be as natural and appealing. And that's what you're doing. Why are we doing it here? We could have done it in a nice, fancy room with a suit, and you can also be suited. And then, very, very prim and proper questions. You've made me change into a jean and a shirt, and I have to go back, change to my suit.
Okay, so your favorite person in AI, your inspiration.
My inspiration, see, I think I really like what Dario is doing. He's fantastic. Sam Altman was one, but
You can't take both their names at the same time.
I know that, but it's like Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli. So, they're doing some great work. But I really love what they're doing, and I think it's important. It's good. It's good that they're competing against each other, and disruption is important for progression of humanity.
Okay, so those are all the rapid fire questions. So before I let you go, Kamal, just one question. Any job that you would do if you were not doing this? Something that you would do for free?
I love teaching, and end of the day, I want to become a teacher. I think I've been very, very blessed to have great mentors. I've had people from whom I've learned, people who've I've worked with. There's so many lessons I've learned being with customers. There's so many. I would want to give back someday. So when I hang up, when I'm like, I think I'm done, I would want to go back to teaching.
But you can create an AI avatar and it can start teaching.
Could be, but that's not personal. No, I still maybe I don't know. My wife keeps telling me that I will do that, but today I'm not thinking about it because I don't have the time for that. But I definitely would want to go back to teaching, and not in tier one, but definitely tier 2, tier 3.
What is the one thing that keeps you up at night? Like everything that is happening in agentic AI, generative AI, so many layoffs, so many new things happening. So what is the one thing?
For me, one is, am I keeping myself abreast, right? So if you look at it, 5 months back, I was not vibe coding, and I saw folks, everybody, over here were vibe coding, right? So that was something that I really was thinking. Today, I think at a professional level, you need to talk along with business and value. You need to understand the tech stack as well, right? I'm still learning. There's so much that's happening. So that's something that I spend time on to really keep myself abreast. So I set aside, some time just before either I go to the bed or when I'm coming. So I'm constantly learning. Then I also expect the same of at home that my kids are doing. I try spend debate with my wife, with my dad. At a personal level. At work, I expect the same from my team. Are they keeping themselves abreast on all of this? How are their learning and development looking like? What is that? Constantly spending time on that. How are they using some of these tools so that we're ahead of the curve? Because it's important. I'm somebody who believes that if you don't know, or if you've not done it, you don't know, and then you can't speak about it. And the industry that we are in, where we are preaching to everybody, we need to be practicing. So being customer zero is very important. So that's what I lose my sleep on. So if I'm doing that, then my conviction tells me that I'm doing, and customers are smart, right? They can see through me saying that if I'm faffing or if I'm really living that in the passion that I'm probably bringing it out. So that's probably what I lose sleep on.
And that is very motivating and good to hear. So, on that note, thank you so much, Kamal, for joining us. And what's the point? I hope you had a great time.
Fantastic. I love this. I love the format. It's great. I know it's nice and sunny, but it's fantastic. Thank you very much.